You're lying. Adunni screamed, her voice cracking as she clutched the DNA test results. 20 years, Jinwoo. 20 years I raised your son thinking you was mine. Jinwoo Park sat motionless in his Seoul penthouse, the Korean entertainment mogul's usual composure shattered. You think this is easy for me? You think finding out my real son grew up in poverty while I spoiled someone else's child is what I wanted? Don't you dare talk about poverty. Adunni's dark eyes blazed with fury. You have no idea what I sacrificed. Working 3 jobs, sleeping 2 hours a night, selling everything I own just to keep him fed and in school. And you did it with my child. Jinwoo's fist slammed the mahogany table. My son should have had every advantage, every opportunity. Instead, he's been struggling while my resources went to my son, who you're now treating like garbage because he doesn't carry your precious DNA. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of Seoul traffic 20 floors below. Before we continue, if you love shocking true stories like this, hit subscribe. I researched these for weeks, and only 4% of viewers subscribe. Be one of the smart ones who never miss these stories. Dr. Sarah Kim, the family therapist, cleared her throat softly. Perhaps we should start from the beginning. Adunni, can you tell us about the night at Seoul National University Hospital in 2004? Adunni's hands trembled as she set down the papers. I was working the night shift. Cleaning floors, emptying trash. Nobody ever looked at me twice. You were there when both babies were born, Dr. Kim prompted gently. My son came first. Tae-yo. Adunni's voice broke on the name. Born at 11:23 p.m. The doctors told me immediately severe heart defect. They said he needed surgery within 6 months or... She couldn't finish. Jinwoo's voice was barely a whisper. How much did they say it would cost? 200 million won. Might as well have been 2 billion. I was making 3 million won per month across all my jobs. And my son? Minho was born when? 1:45 a.m. Perfect health. Perfect everything. Adunni wiped her eyes. Your wife was so happy, talking about his future, about the roles he'd play, the money you'd spend on his education. Dr. Kim leaned forward. What happened during the power outage? It lasted 47 minutes. The emergency generator kicked in, but the security cameras went dark. The night nurse got called to the ICU for another emergency. Adunni's voice became mechanical, detached. I was alone with both babies. Tell me exactly what you did, Jinwoo demanded. I stood there for 30 minutes, just looking at them. Both sleeping so peacefully. Your son, healthy, destined for wealth. My son dying, destined for poverty. So you switched them. I saved my child's life. Adunni exploded. You would have done the same thing. I would have found another way. What way? Adunni stood up, pacing. You think I didn't try everything? I begged the hospital for payment plans. I applied for government aid. I asked every church, every charity. Nobody cared about a Nigerian cleaning woman's dying baby. Jinwoo's wife, Sujin, spoke for the first time. But you took our child. Our healthy son. And gave him a mother who loved him every single day for 20 years, Adunni shot back. Can you say the same about Minho? About my biological son who grew up rich but miserable? The room fell silent again. Dr. Kim made notes before speaking. Jinwoo, how did Minho seem growing up? Jinwoo rubbed his temples. Different. Quiet. He hated the entertainment world, hated publicity. We thought it was because of his early health issues. What health issues? Adunni frowned. The heart problems. He had 3 surgeries by age 5. That was my son, Adunni whispered. My son had the heart defect. Sujin looked confused. But Minho had the surgeries. The doctors said. The doctors were treating your real son, Dr. Kim explained. The medical records got switched too. Minho Adunni's biological child received treatment for a condition he didn't have. Dear God, Jinwoo breathed. No wonder he was always sick. We were giving him heart medications he didn't need. And my son? Adunni's voice was barely audible. Taeyo never got treatment for his actual condition? Apparently not. But somehow, he survived without surgery. It's medically remarkable. Adunni began crying. All those years, I thought I'd saved him. But I might have killed your son instead. Minho is alive, Sujin said softly. Physically. But emotionally. Where is he now? Dr. Kim asked. Jinwoo sighed heavily. Rehab. Third time. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse. He keeps saying he feels like he doesn't belong anywhere. And Taeyo? Dr. Kim turned to Adunni. Law school. Top of his class. Full scholarship to Seoul National University. He works part-time at 3 different places to support us both. Pride crept into Adunni's voice despite everything. He doesn't know yet? How do I tell him the woman he calls mother is a kidnapper? You're not a kidnapper, Dr. Kim said firmly. You are a desperate mother facing an impossible choice. Don't excuse what she did, Jinwoo snapped. She stole 20 years of my son's life. And you stole 20 years of mine. Adunni fired back. While my brilliant boy was sleeping on floors and eating rice for every meal, your biological son was getting the best of everything. He wasn't getting the best of everything. He was getting medical treatment he didn't need for a condition he didn't have. Dr. Kim raised her hand. Stop. This blame cycle isn't helping anyone. The question now is, how do we move forward? I want to meet him, Jinwoo said quietly. I want to meet my real son. And I want to meet mine, Adunni echoed. Are you prepared for the possibility that they might not want to meet you? Dr. Kim warned. What do you mean? Sujin asked. These young men have lived their entire lives with certain identities, certain families. Learning the truth could be devastating. More devastating than living a lie? Jinwoo challenged. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes the truth destroys more than it heals. 3 days later, Taeyo sat across from his mother in their tiny apartment in Hyundai. The DNA results lay between them like a bomb waiting to explode. Read it again, he said, his voice hollow. The results confirm that Jinwoo Park is your biological father, Adunni repeated, tears streaming down her face. And Minho Park is your biological son. Yes. Taeyo stood up slowly, walking to the window overlooking the narrow alley below. Children played in the courtyard where he'd spent countless hours as a boy, dreaming of a different life. 20 years, Mom. 20 years of watching you work yourself to death for me. You're still my son. No. Taeyo's voice was ice cold. I'm the son of a man worth 50 billion won who's been funding my brother's drug habit while his real son eats instant noodles for dinner. Taeyo, please. Does he know? Jinwoo Park? Does he know how many nights you cried because you couldn't afford my school supplies? Does he know you sold your wedding ring to pay for my university entrance exams? Adunni couldn't speak. Does he know you worked 18-hour days during my final year of high school so I could afford the prep courses? Stop it. Does he know you haven't bought yourself new clothes in 5 years because everyone went to my education? Stop. I want to meet him, Taeyo said finally. Are you sure? I want to look this man in the eye and ask him where he was when his son needed him. He didn't know. He didn't care to know. There's a difference. The meeting was arranged for the following week at Jinwoo's office building in Gangnam. Tae-yo arrived wearing his only good suit, the one Adunni had saved for months to buy him for job interviews. The elevator ride to the 40th floor felt like ascending to another world. Glass walls, marble floors, assistants in designer clothes. Everything Tae-yo had dreamed of but never thought he deserved. Jinwoo's secretary, a polished woman in her 30s, escorted him to the corner office. "Mr. Park will see you now." Jinwoo stood when he entered. The resemblance was unmistakable, same sharp jawline, same intense eyes, same way of standing with shoulders slightly hunched when nervous. "You look like my father," Jinwoo breathed. "Which father?" Tae-yo's voice was sharp. "The one who raised me or the one who abandoned me?" "I didn't abandon you." "I didn't know." "You didn't know because you never looked. 20 years in the same city, and you never once wondered if there might be more to the story. If you're as shocked as I am by this twisted family drama, smash that like button and let me know in the comments, do you think Jinwoo is being unfair to Tae-yo? The story gets even crazier from here, so stick around. Jinwoo's assistant had prepared tea in delicate porcelain cups, but both men ignored it. "I want to make this right," Jinwoo said. "I can give you everything now. Money, connections, opportunities. You think money fixes 20 years? What do you want me to say? I'm sorry? I'm devastated? I've lost 20 years with my son? I want you to say you understand what my mother went through." Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the Seoul skyline. "She stole my child. She saved her child. Your child. Me." Tae-yo leaned forward. "Do you know what the infant mortality rate is for heart defects in Nigeria? 87% without surgery. She didn't steal your child. She chose which child would live. But she lied. She survived. We both survived. Can you say the same about your other son?" Jinwoo's face crumpled. "Minho is struggling. Because he's been living the wrong life for 20 years. Just like I have." "What life should you have been living?" Tae-yo smiled bitterly. "Not poverty. Not watching my mother destroy her body working 3 jobs. Not studying by candlelight because we couldn't afford electricity. Not wearing the same shoes for 3 years because buying new ones meant we couldn't pay rent. I can change all of that now. You can't change the past. But maybe." Tae-yo paused, studying his biological father's face. "Maybe we can figure out the future." "What do you mean?" "I want to meet him. Minho. My biological brother. He's not well. The rehab is exactly where he should be. He's been trying to fill a hole that can't be filled with money or substances. He needs to understand who he really is." "And who is he?" "Adunni's son. Sensitive, artistic, someone who needed quiet love, not spotlight attention." The first meeting between the Switch sons happened at a neutral location, a quiet cafe in Itaewon, chosen for its mix of Korean and international atmosphere. Minho arrived first, fidgeting with his expensive watch, designer clothes hanging loose on his thin frame. Tae-yo walked in wearing the same suit from his father's office, but somehow made it look more dignified. His posture was straighter, his movements more confident. "You must be Tae-yo," Minho said in accented English, his voice barely above a whisper. "And you're Minho." They sat in awkward silence, 2 young men who should have been brothers but were strangers. The cafe buzzed around them, couples chatting, students studying, the normal rhythm of life continuing while theirs had been completely upended. "This is weird," Minho said finally. "Which part?" "Finding out we're not related to our families, or meeting the person who lived our life." "All of it." Minho's hands shook slightly as he reached for his coffee. "I keep wondering, if we hadn't been switched, would I be like you? Confident, successful, driven? And I keep wondering if I'd be like you. Struggling with identity, feeling like I don't belong anywhere. You think that's why I'm so messed up? Because I was living your life? Teo studied him carefully. What do you love doing? Not what your parents wanted you to love. What makes you happy? Reading. Writing poetry. Small quiet spaces. I hate crowds, hate publicity, hate the entertainment world. Minho's voice grew stronger as he spoke about his genuine interests. That sounds like my mother. Adunni. She writes in journals every night, reads constantly, prefers staying home to going out. Really? She's gentle, thoughtful, sees beauty in small things. Your parents, Jinwoo and Sujin, they're performers. They love attention, love being social, love the spotlight. Minho nodded slowly. I never understood why I was so different from them. Why their world felt so foreign. Because you weren't meant to be their son. You were meant to be raised by a quiet woman who would have understood your sensitive nature, who would have nurtured your creativity instead of pushing you toward fame. And you were meant to be raised by people who could have given you opportunities to match your ambition. They sat in contemplation, two young men processing the cosmic joke of their switched lives. Do you hate her? Adunni? Minho asked. I should. She's the reason my life has been so confusing. But. Minho hesitated. She made that choice out of love for her child. I can't hate a mother for loving her son. Even if it meant 20 years of struggle for you? Even then. Because those 20 years taught me things wealth never could. Resilience, empathy, the value of hard work. And I learned things poverty never could have taught me. How to navigate complex emotions, how to find beauty in darkness, how to write pain into something meaningful. So maybe we both got what we needed, just not in the way anyone planned. Maybe. 6 months later, all 4 parents sat around a table in Dr. Kim's office for what she called the integration session. How are you feeling about the new arrangements? Dr. Kim asked. Adunni spoke first, her voice stronger than it had been in months. It's strange. Teo moved into Jinwoo's guest house, but he visits me every day. We're learning to be friends, I suppose. Instead of mother and son. That must be difficult. It is. But it's also freeing. For 20 years, I carried the guilt of my deception. Now that the truth is out, I can love him without the weight of lies. And Minho? He's been staying with me twice a week, Adunni said softly. He helps me cook traditional Nigerian food. We talk about books and poetry. He's gentle. Like I always imagined my son would be if he'd grown up with me. Jinwoo nodded. Teo is everything I hoped my son would become. Ambitious, intelligent, strong. But he's also something I never expected, forgiving. How so? He told me last week that he doesn't blame me for the 20 years of poverty. He said it made him stronger, more appreciative. He said every struggle was worth it because it led him to who he is now. Sujin dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Minho is happier than we've ever seen him. Living with Adunni part-time has given him the quiet, nurturing environment he always needed. His poetry is beautiful. He's found his voice. And the guilt? Dr. Kim asked Adunni. It's still there. It always will be. But both boys are thriving now. They're living authentic lives, surrounded by people who understand them. Maybe everything happened the way it needed to. Even the 20 years of deception? Even that. Because without those 20 years, Teo wouldn't be the remarkable man he is today. And Minho wouldn't have learned resilience and strength from living with wealth while feeling like an outsider. Dr. Kim made her final notes. What's next for everyone? Teo answered first. I'm starting law school in the fall. Jinwoo is helping with connections for internships, but I'm earning my grades myself. And I'm learning Korean so I can better understand this part of my heritage. Minho? I'm publishing a book of poetry about identity and belonging. Adunni is helping me edit it. She understands the themes better than anyone. And the family dynamics? Jinwoo smiled for the first time in months. We're not trying to replace 20 years. We're building something new. Taeyo calls me Jinwoo and Adunni mom. Minho calls Adunni mother and us by our first names. It works. And the relationship between the two young men? Brothers, they answered simultaneously, then laughed. We talk every day now, Taeyo explained. We're helping each other navigate our new realities. And we're both in therapy, Minho added. Together and separately. Processing 20 years of living the wrong life isn't something you do overnight. 1 year later, at Taeyo's law school graduation, four parents sat together in the audience. Adunni held Soojin's hand as they watched the young man walk across the stage. In the row behind them, Minho cheered loudly, his first public display of emotion in years. After the ceremony, Taeyo found them all in the reception area, his graduation cap tilted at an angle that made him look impossibly young despite everything he'd been through. Thank you, he said to the group. All of you. For what? Adunni asked. For loving us. All of us. Even when the love was complicated, even when it was built on lies, even when it was painful. You all chose love over anger, forgiveness over revenge, hope over despair. Minho stepped forward, his own graduation approaching from rehab, from depression, from the wrong life. 20 years ago, our mothers made impossible choices. But today, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Jinwoo put his arm around both young men. I spent 20 years wondering why Minho seemed so unhappy despite having everything. Now I know he wasn't my son to make happy. And I missed 20 years of watching my real son become extraordinary despite having nothing. We all missed 20 years, Soojin added. But maybe those 20 years were necessary. Maybe we all needed to go through this to understand what family really means. As the families embraced, Dr. Kim watched from a distance and smiled. Sometimes the most broken situations create the strongest bonds. Sometimes the biggest lies reveal the deepest truths. And sometimes, love really is stronger than DNA. The Nigerian woman and the Korean man who had never met until their children were 20 had become unlikely allies in healing two broken boys. The boys who had lived each other's lives had become brothers in the truest sense. And the deception that had lasted 20 years had ultimately led to truth that would last a lifetime. What would you have done in Adunni's situation? Would you have made the same impossible choice to save your dying child? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, I read every single one. And if this story moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that family isn't just about blood, it's about love. Don't forget to subscribe with notifications on because I have more shocking true stories coming your way. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.